right, cool. Welcome to the Comparing and Contrasting Sales and Recruitment Cycles course. This is literally the first course that I ever recorded. The reason being is that I hated online courses for a long time. And I would go on YouTube and I would see these online courses and I'd be like just triggered to like look at the ad that was running and just hit skip. And having done sales for 10 years and been around the world, and just like my whole life changed, and I started recruiting and I started this company and everything, and I saw it in a different light, and so I wanted to create some resources that actually provide value to you guys, and so thanks for watching. The first thing I'm going to go over is the typical sales cycle. Here's a diagram right here. The typical sales cycle has like 6 or 7 steps to it. I like 8. I like this model with 8 because I think that asking for referrals at the end is something that people don't do. And I think that people are scared to ask for referrals. I think that it's an extra tool to really nurture, and it's more of a customer success tool than trying to squeeze every drop of money out. If you're trying to squeeze every drop of money out, asking for referrals, you're doing it wrong, and you should be scared to ask. But if you recognize it as an opportunity to nurture the lead that bought from you at the end, and think of it as more of a customer success thing than asking for referrals. If you really want to make a difference at the end, ask for the referral as a customer success tool, and build a relationship even further. For those of you who aren't familiar with how I kind of go about things, I'm really into reverse engineering shit, so I apologize if working backwards is kind of like weird to you, but I found that it typically is a great tool. Delivering. So delivering's fun. Delivering it can be difficult. Sometimes you as a salesperson are responsible for delivering. Most times you have a team in a company that is responsible for the delivery of the service or product, so you don't really have to worry about that. Like 9 times out of 10, you won't have to worry about that, like if it's not your company or like you're just not responsible for it. That's typically product and service people, which I'll make more courses about product and service departments and everything. I actually have a course that's going to come out after this one, the shocking similarities between recruitment and product teams. 6, closing. Closing's fun. Closing's great. There's actually a lot that I could say about closing the sale. I think I'm going to save that for the later parts of this series. I'm going to go through the typical pitfalls of each step in the cycle, and then how to make a difference on sales teams and recruiting teams. So that's how it's going to hit. Number 5, addressing objections. To me, I don't know why people get freaked out about the whole addressing the whole objection thing. personally, like I said before at the beginning of this video, I like to reverse engineer shit. Like, I take a look at root words a lot. So like, objection and objective have the same root word, right? Which means, and I don't think anybody is really addressing it this way in the sales space. I mean, I've heard everybody's, like Jordan Belfort's, Grant Cardone, like everyone that's like an expert in sales. I don't think I've heard a single person mention the root word. So, in short, I would suggest battling this. Like, if you're on a sales team and you're battling this and having a really tough time, don't ignore the objection, but focus on the objective of the customer. So like, or potential customer, right? So like, that in and of itself is in a moment in time. Because if you start saying weird shit, first of all, there's nothing, and I really do believe this, and Grant Cardone says it all the time, is that there's literally nothing that you can say that blows a deal or can blow a deal. But if you miss out on the opportunity to define and refine the objective of the customer in those moments, like, that's the whole point of this part of the cycle. So literally just redefine or clarify the definition of the person's objective that you're talking to, and you'll be fine. I see so many salespeople that freak out, and it drives me absolutely up the damn wall when I hear this shit. Like, it's literally the most aggravating thing about coaching sales people. I dealt with it for 10 years when I was moving up the ranks in sales, and then eventually was training, and then eventually I started recruiting salespeople, which how I became a recruiter was that way. And then I ended up recruiting for just about every industry on the planet and every position on the planet. Figured I would just start my own company, but extremely frustrating. So I know that I mentioned it at the beginning of this video that I was going to put some things off into the future, not only in this series, but other courses that I am making. I do want to touch on objectives, though, because I am, like I said, I am going to submit a course, another course, the shocking similarities between recruitment and product teams, to the internet. And sorry, long day of making this shit. I hope it's good shit for you. I hope that you're finding value. And objectives. So in product teams, there's this thing, I'll just touch on it real quick. On product teams, there's this thing called, this is measurement. So like sales, in a sales environment, they call it KPIs, what they measure. One of the quote-unquote KPIs that they measure on product teams, if you're on a good product team, you're going to measure this, is, so it's literally called, so the organizations that I worked in called it Key DO, so KDO, yeah, Key, all these, they're all stupid. Literally all these terms are stupid. Key desired objectives, which basically is code for what do you want most in your business. So like I mentioned, our thing does this in a sales role, and I'm pitching someone, and they're coming up with a bunch of objectives or objections, and I'm like, okay, well, what are your objectives? You got all these objections, you have objectives, and so we match them with their desired outcome. So a lot of it is storytelling, a lot of it is bringing them around to this realization that we're actually bringing about a desired outcome. So we end up literally, and Alex Ramosi does a great job of this, is selling the trip or selling the desired outcome instead of selling the product, which is a lot of what I teach salespeople that I've trained and the salespeople that come in for our business is sell their objections, sell their objectives, sell the key desired objective. Before you get confused, if you're familiar with stuff like this on product teams, most product teams call it OKR. So they're the same thing. They're exactly the same thing. OKR and key desired objective, like, I don't know what the hell, like, they're the same thing. They're literally the same thing. I will make more on that in future videos in this series and in other e-courses that are coming out later this year. Number 4 is presenting. Now, presenting is fun. I think that the demo, if you're in like SaaS sales or really anything sales-wise related on the internet in 2022, because there's Zooms and we have these meetings, presenting can be one of the most fun aspects about the position, and in an ideal world, if I were to be in a sales role, I would probably be in some sort of like sales engineering role where we break down the cycle and add parts to it, take away parts to it, alter some of the processes behind the buying journey. Like that's probably what like I would do at this stage of the game. It is what I'm doing. I mean, I have a company and we source candidates for various companies across the nation, and we're going to end up sourcing around the globe eventually, getting to it. But presenting is like one of the most fun parts of the whole process. Speaking of presenting, connecting and presenting are actually kind of one and the same. It's the third one up there, right? Connecting is probably one of my favorite parts as well. I think just in general, connecting with people is one of my favorite things to do as a person, as someone that owns the company. Just across the globe, across companies, across departments. Like, I just really like to forge relationships. That's what the salespeople are doing on a day-to-day basis. They're doing it well. That's what they're doing. Networking. So, before I get into that, actually, I want to, because you're about halfway through, right? We're about halfway through the first module or so. So I'm going to stand up. If you want to stand up, get coffee or something. I'm gonna get more coffee because I'm tired. Because I've been editing this, been filming and editing as I'm going for like probably 8 or 9 hours now, and it's in the afternoon. I started this morning, so I'm gonna grab something quick if you don't mind. Cool. Thanks. So, connecting, forging relationships. Number 3. Number 3, the third part. It's my favorite. You know, I know that I said presenting was my favorite or one of my favorites. Connecting is my favorite. Presenting is my favorite. Second to connecting with people. This is just important. It's important shit. I mean, beyond sales, beyond, beyond the cycle, right? Beyond all that. It's one of the most important things I think you could ever one of the most important things you could ever do. You know, all seriousness aside, there's actually a very important aspect of the connecting. As it relates to sales, you want to make sure that you're actually number 2, researching. So you're collecting data. I mean, ultimately, as a salesperson, you're collecting data. You want to make sure that your research is doing what I mentioned way in the beginning. This objection thing that I was talking about. It's important that you figure out their objective. Like, the entire time you're researching, Jordan Belfort, it's funny because he had a video where he mentioned building rapport. He calls it building rapport. Well, if you're building rapport and all you're talking about is the fish on the wall and the fly fishing and whatever, is what he likes to talk about. The right rapport. So the researching stage, number 2, that I'm talking about, it's crucial to connecting in the whole sales environment. And you want to make sure that you're figuring out what they want to ultimately achieve and sell the achievement, not the product, not the service, not nothing. When I was in sales before I got into recruiting, the amount of new salespeople that told me that they couldn't sell because they didn't know the product or service, and I was like, that's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. It's not, but it is. And the reason being is that they're still trying to sell a product or service, not the experience of achieving what they want to experience. The whole sell me this pen thing. It's like, well, the experience. I could go into that whole sell me this pen thing. I ain't gonna fucking do that shit. But you get what I'm saying, right? When I talk to you about researching, it's like when you're in that environment, you want to make sure that you're actually figuring out what they are trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish, what they're trying to like figure out, right? And the thing is, even outside of a sales environment, right? If you're not actively trying to connect with them and figure out what they're trying to do, and there's this back and forth, and you're not helping them achieve any of their goals, and it's all about you and this, that, and the other thing, like the relationship's not going to work out anyway, right? So whether you're in a sales context or not, like just invest in the people that you're talking to. Invest in them, you know. I literally got like 18 people to attend the conference that I'm hosting virtually in October and speak and be a guest because I'm actually invested in them, right? Because I connected online. These are people that I never met before. In product, in marketing, in sales, in service, in PR, in communications, all these different departments of all these different industries that were on LinkedIn. And we're establishing this amazing relationship, and we feel like we've known each other literally for years, and we've known each other for maybe like 2-3 weeks at the time of this video. I've been promoting this conference, so it's like crazy to me how this actually works, and so many people are committed, so many salespeople are committed to stressing out, they're committed to the wrong thing. They need to stop overthinking everything, and they need to really take this cycle to heart, because and the reason why I said that I like this 8-part cycle is that when you have 5 or 6 parts of the cycle, but you're leaving off delivery and you're leaving off asking for referrals, you know, you're really not enabling it to continue. You're not enabling that relationship that you established in 1, 2, 3, and 4 to really continue and build. And you're not connected. You're not even connected to your company. You're not connected by not being involved in the delivery, by not asking for referrals. You're not even involved with the other departments of your company, and you're trying to build a relationship with people oftentimes you're reaching out to cold, and you don't know. It's like the most heinous shit I've ever heard in my life, and people don't want to do it, and it's companies are suffering every day because of this, and it blows my mind. You know, so I really, in large part, and that's actually, you know, it's funny because of the conferences that we hold every year, and I don't know if you signed up for the most recent one. I don't know when you're going to watch this, whether you're watching it on YouTube or you've purchased the course, or I have no idea. I don't know if you signed up for the most recent one, but we hold them every year. That's the whole point of the conference in general that we hold as a company, is that we connect 4 departments, primarily 4 of them. There's more departments, but we connect 4 primarily, is sales, marketing, product, and service, PR, like, you know, that's the entire reason. That's literally the entire reason for companies existing, people will tell you this and people will tell you that. Like, that's the only reason why business exists. That's the only reason why we exist. So, like, really prioritize steps 2 and 3. Really prioritize them, because it's going to change your life. It's literally going to change everything about your life in every area of your life, beyond sales.